Some decisions don't echo through crowded halls or unfold beneath flashing cameras. They happen in silence, behind closed doors, where a single signature can alter the future of an entire family. One quiet afternoon, an envelope arrived carrying what was meant to be a final appeal. But before the ink on the request had time to settle, history had already begun moving in another direction. Inside the palace, the letter was delivered directly to King Charles. Its message was simple but deeply significant. It called for reconciliation, a private meeting, and a carefully managed path back toward royal life. It wasn't merely a request to heal broken relationships. It sought recognition, renewed trust, and a return to a world that had once been left behind. Charles read every page slowly. When he reached the end, the room fell silent. There were no urgent consultations, no frantic discussions, and no search for another solution. He placed the letter on the table, looked down for a long moment, and reached a conclusion that would reshape every conversation that followed. The answer was no. Yet that single word carried far more weight than rejection alone. It represented years of damaged trust, public controversy, and private wounds that had never truly healed. For Prince William, reopening the door risked inviting another cycle of uncertainty into his family's life. He believed the monarchy could not afford another period of instability after working so hard to restore calm. Princess Anne viewed the situation through a different lens. To her, royal duty was never meant to be something abandoned and reclaimed whenever circumstances changed. Once the boundaries protecting the institution disappeared, restoring them could become nearly impossible. As King Charles reflected on their concerns, he understood that this was no longer simply a family disagreement. It had become a choice between compassion and the future of the crown. The decision did not emerge from a single letter alone. Months before that envelope ever reached the king's desk, another moment had quietly altered the course of events. It happened during a private family gathering at Windsor. There were no television cameras, no public statements, and no expectation of official announcements. The gathering had been intended as a rare opportunity for relatives to set aside years of conflict and remember what once united them. For King Charles, it was a chance to rebuild personal ties without reopening debates about royal status. Strict boundaries had already been agreed upon. The evening would remain private. There would be no discussions about titles, official duties, or returning to public royal life. For a short while, those promises appeared to hold. Then everything changed. As the evening drew to a close, the quiet atmosphere gave way to an unexpected confrontation. What had begun as a family occasion slowly shifted into a discussion about the future, recognition, and whether a place inside the monarchy could ever be restored. King Charles refused to turn a deeply personal gathering into a negotiation. He believed grief and family remembrance should never become bargaining tools. Prince William arrived moments later, immediately recognizing the growing tension. To him, the conversation crossed a line that should never have been approached during such an intimate occasion. If private moments became opportunities to seek public concessions, every future family gathering would carry hidden expectations. Princess Anne reached the same conclusion. Watching the exchange unfold convinced her that trust had suffered damage far beyond public disagreements. What had been offered as compassion now appeared, in her eyes, to have been treated as an opportunity to reopen old battles. When the evening finally ended, nobody celebrated. King Charles left carrying disappointment. William carried renewed determination. Anne carried certainty. From that moment onward, the possibility of restoring official royal roles no longer seemed difficult. It began to feel impossible. The final response was prepared with remarkable care. Every sentence was chosen to eliminate uncertainty. There would be no temporary compromises, no unofficial arrangements, and no suggestion that another request might someday reopen the discussion. When King Charles reviewed the completed reply, he understood exactly what it meant. He wasn't simply declining a proposal, he was closing a chapter. The decision protected one important distinction. Although official royal responsibilities would remain permanently out of reach, the bond between father and son did not have to disappear. Charles wanted Harry to know that personal communication could still survive, provided it remained separate from questions of status, privilege, or public duty. It was a painful line to draw. But in the king's mind, it was the only one capable of preserving both his family and the institution he had sworn to protect. For Prince William, the outcome brought no sense of triumph. He knew the choice might deepen the distance between two brothers who had once shared everything. Yet he believed lasting stability demanded difficult sacrifices, especially when the future of his own family and the monarchy rested on maintaining clear boundaries. Princess Anne reached the same conclusion with quiet resolve. Duty, she believed, could never depend on changing circumstances or renewed negotiations. Its value came from consistency, not convenience. As the letter was folded and placed safely out of sight, the room remained silent. No celebrations followed. No victory was claimed. Only the unmistakable feeling that an era had quietly come to an end. Sometimes history isn't shaped by dramatic speeches or public ceremonies. Sometimes it is written by the choices made when no audience is watching. And on that silent day, one family accepted that not every broken bridge can be rebuilt, and that some doors, once closed, remain part of history forever. Subscribe.